In this episode of OG55, I am joined by the Italiano. Today, we are talking about Spellbound. Spellbound, the animated film that is actually dropping a trailer, I think, very, very soon. We're also going to talk about Deadpool in the parks. We've discussed it, but there has been some new footage that has come to light. We're going to talk about it. Might be a little controversial. Up next on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. We are today talking all about Spellbound, that John Lasseter animated film. A lot to dive into with that. We're also going to talk about Deadpool in the parks. There is some new footage that is pretty wild. We're going to talk about it. But before we do, the Italiano, welcome back, sir.
Thanks for having me back on. It's always a good time doing these videos on OG55. And yeah, I can't wait to discuss these very interesting topics, to say the least, because there's even some controversial even around Spellbound, not necessarily the movie itself, but with John Lasseter and why he's even over at Skydance to begin with. So a lot of juicy but spicy, but dare I say sticky topics, to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Very sticky, dude. There we go. All right, let's dive into our first topic today, which is Spellbound. Let's go ahead and I'll present my screen and we'll kind of go from there. Okay, so this is Spellbound from Skydance, okay? It says here that something monstrous is coming. Spellbound trailer drops tomorrow. So July 30th, we're getting a Spellbound trailer, okay? So this is the second animated feature from John Lasseter, I believe the second one since he left Disney, right? So it's kind of all eyes have been kind of on this, right? It's kind of interesting. Now, Luck, I haven't seen Luck, but Luck was very well received. I think most people enjoyed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's my thing, though. The issue with Luck, I think it did well. I think it did what it had to do. I think it was well received. The issue that I have with Luck is it didn't move the needle culturally. It didn't, like, in terms of pop culture, it really didn't, it didn't move anything. Like, a lot of people don't really.
Or the normies, for that matter. I mean,
Exactly.
You go to a normie and say, hey, what'd you think of the movie Luck? And they'd be like, what's Luck? Is it a live action? Is it like, people might not even know it's an animated film.
Exactly. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's not really relevant, right? So it didn't really do much culturally. Now you're going into Spellbound. Honestly, I think Spellbound is a very important film for John Lasseter. Not necessarily because, it's going to if it doesn't move the needle culturally, it's going to destroy his career. I don't think anything like that. But I do think that if he wants Disney to kind of sit up and take notice, if he wants to sort of make waves, and he wants to be like, hey, look, Disney let me go, and now I'm a hit maker again. I'm making hits now for Skydance, right? This movie is going to have to move that needle, and I don't know if it will or not. And, we'll see. We'll see what the trailer brings. What are your thoughts, George?
Okay, so a couple things. Just going by off this poster alone, it kind of gives me a little bit of a cross vibe between Where the Wild Things Are and Pixar's Onward. And and that can kind of go a little bit, both ways of like what the storyline is, because we don't really know what it's about until when the trailer drops tomorrow. But if you look at the top part of the poster, it actually says from the creative visionary of Toy Story, but also the director from Shrek. Now that's kind of telling in itself, and nothing against the director of Shrek, but Shrek has that kind of crude slapstick, fourth wall kind of storyline.
Hopefully none of that gets into this movie. I'm not a big fan of like when they take fairy tales, which just seems like a very fairy tale based kind of movie, just based on the name, the kind of aesthetics. If they get into that Shrek stuff, man, look, it's not for me. I think people like it, but for me, it's just not. It's not it. I think the movie gets really dated when you do that kind of stuff. You know.
Secondly, it's only on Netflix, so I find this quite interesting that this is a movie that I really hate putting it in this way, but doesn't have the oomph that would make it to theaters. Because if you're already going to push it onto a streaming service and you're only going to subject it to Netflix, not saying that direct to streaming films or series aren't popular or well received, but I don't know. It just feels like that the marketing and the promoting of this thing, where John Lasseter even himself hasn't even stepped into the limelight since him leaving Disney and Pixar. Like usually he's like that kind that goes for the gusto, that he like goes in front of a camera, says, "Hey, look, this is a movie that we're making." So it feels like that if you're going to believe in the project that you're working on, you kind of have to showcase that through the marketing and promoting. Now, again, Disney and Pixar have faulted to this. They did it with Elemental. I felt like that's what kind of hurt Elemental in that sense, where, just of how they were going about to showcase the film. There have been like misses throughout the time of, Disney Animation and Pixar, but I'm not saying that this is a bad film, but the way that they're going about doing it, they're not really helping it at all. And I felt like that's what they did with Luck.
Well, and here's the thing too. I think in terms of like what I was saying earlier, in terms of moving the needle culturally, I think that's what this has to do. John Lasseter has proven it himself. He can make a good movie. It's probably going to be a good movie, right? The guy knows what he's doing. But this movie has to do more than just be good. It has to do more than what Luck did. It has to be good, and it has to be something that's talked about, is what I'm saying. Like something that's talked about, and something that like kids are going nuts for this thing. And the merchandise is like all over the place and flying off the shelves. It needs to move the needle. If it's another Luck, where it's like, it's a good movie, we like it, but then in a year from now, everyone forgets about it, it's not enough. It's not enough for Lasseter. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, I think also not being in theaters is sort of holding it back a little bit too. It kind of prevents it from becoming that cultural phenom that it could possibly be. If you put the movie in theaters, it kind of gains a little bit more attention, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So now here's the interesting thing too, is Rachel Zegler is in this movie. She's a voice in this movie. Okay. So I don't know what, and look, I got conservative friends or whatever. So, I'm just kind of joking around here, but like, in all honesty, like, I don't know what conservatives are going to think about this movie, right? Because if you think about it, I feel like conservatives are really rooting for John Lasseter. It seems like they really like him and they root for him. But then they can't stand Rachel Zegler, though. So, like what's going to... like, your friends are going to start circuit. What do we do? Do we root for this thing or not? We got Rachel, but we got Lasseter, It's just kind of funny. But let's go ahead and play. And I personally love Rachel. I think she's really sweet and very attractive. Let's be honest. Let's play what she says here, and we'll kind of talk about it.
Hey, I'm Rachel Zegler, and the trailer for my new movie Spellbound drops tomorrow, so I am passing the phone, or should I say we are passing the phone, to the absolute icon who plays my monster of a father.
I am Javier, and I'm no monster. I am the king, so maybe just a little bit of a monster. And I'm passing the phone to my most trusted royal advisor.
Hello, I'm John, and I'm passing the phone to the most wonderful scene partner and a surprisingly good tango dancer.
I'm Jennifer Lewis, and I have the honor of passing the phone to an undisputable animation legend. A legend, I tell you.
I'm Nathan, and I don't know about legend. National treasure and beloved icon, perhaps, but legend? All right, if you insist. And now I'm passing the phone to my partner in the cosmos, the sun to my moon, and the astronomical tenor to my sensible, level-headed baritone.
I'm Titus Burgess, and I'm passing the phone to the mother of all mothers, the
Can
queen
I-
of all queens.
Can I just, and we'll continue in a second. Is it just me or is this a really cringe?
Oh, this. As I said, you have to promote something with gusto, and I'm sorry, this isn't gusto. To a normie that you're trying to promote a movie, people are probably like, and part of my language, what the fuck are they talking about?
What's the whole thing with pass the phone? See, is that part of the? Is there something with that in the movie or something that we don't know about? I just feel like that whole like I'm gonna pass the phone to so and so feels a little weird to me.
Yeah, and then after we finish this, I do have some say on the casting of it as well.
Oh.
Very interesting.
Okay.
Cannot believe I get to say this. Nicole Kidman.
I'm Nicole, and I can't wait for you all to be Spellbound this November, only on Netflix.
Okay. So interesting stuff. And like I said, I don't know. Look, Rachel's in it, but it's also done by John Lasseter. So I don't know I don't know which way like the conservative culture war people are going to go in. It'll be very interesting to kind of watch how that whole thing pans out. But what say you about the casting, brother?
Yeah. So as you had mentioned about Rachel Zegler, kind of having the backlash of how do we say, opening her mouth up a little bit too much to certain things. She's also going to be starring in the live action version of Snow White. And we all know there's a lot of backlash that's going towards that for many different reasons.
Right.
But then you also have actors like Nathan Lane, who also worked on Disney projects as Timon from The Lion King.
Oh, he did, huh?
You have Jennifer Lewis, who also provided the voice of Flo in the Cars franchise. So she worked closely with Lasseter before. And she also provides the voice of Mama Odie in The Princess and the Frog. But then you take a whole 180 and you got an actor like John Lithgow, who did the voice of Lord Farquaad in Shrek. So now he has worked with the director of this before, because now he is now in Spellbound, but was also in Shrek. So you got like this array of different actors coming from different backgrounds, that you're dealing with a producer from Disney and Pixar, but a director from DreamWorks, who they both kind of have this, I don't want to say bad blood, because I can't speak for John Lasseter, but I'm for sure there's some bitterness, and saltiness towards the company. So what a way to kind of stick it into the company than work with a director who worked on a DreamWorks animated film that actually worked on a movie that did shots at the CEO at the time of the Walt Disney Company,
Michael Eisner. Yeah, it's famously noted that that Shrek was modeled after Michael Eisner.
Yes.
And that was one of the things, I got to be completely honest with you, and I think a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this. George, you talk a lot about Italian food and stuff because you're the Italiano, right?
Right.
And you talk about like how Italians, when they make food, a lot of like the love goes into it matters. If you're angry while cooking, that's going to show in the product, right?
Absolutely.
So that's kind of how I feel about Shrek. It's an angry product.
Really quick, before you make your point, I also have to say, on top of being good cooks, us Italians, we're also good at making love and singing opera.
There you go. Exactly. There you go. Well said. Well said. So I kind of feel like, in terms of your cooking analogy, you cook with love. You can taste the difference when someone cooks happy and when someone cooks angry.
Right.
I feel Shrek was an angry product. It was Jeffrey Katzenberg with a chip on his shoulder, salty as fuck, and basically, you know what? I'm gonna model this ogre after my old partner, Michael Eisner, boss, whatever. I'm gonna take pot shots at the company I used to work for. It just feels a little bit of a project that has a little too much like of a bitterness to it, in my opinion.
Could we potentially see that within Spellbound?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I hope it doesn't rub off, because I'm not a huge Shrek guy, and I get it. Shrek is popular, and I completely understand that. You know what I'm saying? But for me personally, I hope not. I hope the Shrek stuff, because it seems like there's a lot of Shrek influence here. I hope the Shrek stuff doesn't rub off on this. I hope this movie isn't like a Shrek, and I'm kind of getting the vibe it might be. because the Shrek people are involved, and even the tone of that little clip with I'm going to pass the phone to so and so. I'm going to pass the phone to so and so. I feel like there's something to that with the movie. I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Is it going to be this modern kind of take on fairy tales? I hope not.
What I kind of got of it is where it's like they're passing the phone, like, okay, I'm going to hand this to the next person, but it gives the description, I think, of their characters in the movie.
Interesting.
Because when they say, I'm going to pass the phone to my partner in crime of the cosmos, and so it's like whoever that character is they're the partner of Nathan Lane in the movie.
Right. Interesting.
So that might be like, I think it's kind of a little bit of a weird take to do it that way, but
it's weird. Yeah. And I might be reading too much.
I think it's a little lost in translation for me.
Yeah. And I feel like I might be reading too far into it with the phone stuff. I just feel like that was a weird way to do it. I don't know if the phone stuff is a shtick they do in the movie. It probably isn't, I guess. I don't know. But it just seems weird to me that was the choice they made. But we'll see, dude. I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, Lasseter is a talented guy. You can't deny that. But we'll see if this one resonates or not. You know, he needs a big win. I think he needs a movie that's going to really, really make an impact culturally. You know, and I don't mean like culture war. I mean like culturally, like, you know, Inside Out 2, for example. It made a lot of money, but it's also impacting, like, you know, it's a cultural hit. People are talking about it. You know what I'm saying?
Even with Deadpool and Wolverine right now.
Exactly. That's a cultural hit. People are buzzing about it. Super Mario Brothers last year, cultural hit. People were talking about it. People need to talk about Spellbound. People need to do that. Otherwise, Lasseter, look, if I'm Lasseter, I got fired from my you know, let's say you get fired. I'm Lasseter, right? I got fired from Disney. What I would want to do is I want to show Disney, hey, look, you know what? This is what you're missing out on. Now I'm making hits for somebody else.
Because if he doesn't, that makes him look like, okay, was it Disney that was really making the product better, not just him as the director?
Right. Does he need Disney and all their resources to make a phenomenal hit, to be that hit maker? Was it really maybe not even Disney, but was it maybe the Pixar
team, like, as a whole?
Right. That really, you know, and I'm sure they did. I mean, obviously, but like, right. But is he dependent on that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because even if you look at the movies, like, say, Jeffrey Katzenberg, when he left Disney, in my opinion, a lot of those Katzenberg era DreamWorks movies in the beginning didn't have the same impact as the movies he worked on at Disney in the Renaissance era. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it does matter where you put these folks and how it's kind of like a perfect storm sometimes. Mm-hmm. So with Lasseter, and again, I'm not diminishing him. I think he is a smart, creative guy, but can he do the same kind of magic he did at Pixar again? Can he do another Toy Story? Can he do another Cars over here at Skydance? I'm not so sure. This movie doesn't.
Well, and especially too, because Pixar, up until now, Pixar had a very distinct look to it as far as animation goes, as do Walt Disney Animation. But yeah, when you look at the poster for Spellbound, you kind of have. I mentioned, like, it kind of looked like a cross between, like, Onward and Where the Wild Things Are. But as far as animation goes, it kind of also reminds me of the I think it is DreamWorks movie Home. I don't know if anyone remembers the movie.
Oh,
Home,
yeah,
with that purple alien.
Kind of, yeah. It kind of gives off that vibe, dude.
Yeah.
It kind of gives off that vibe. So it's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know. I think that, and our good friend Seymour, credit to Seymour Duck.
Yes.
But he was saying to us privately, like, you know, like, hopefully this is a good movie and hopefully it really resonates, because it would be nice for Disney to have some competition that isn't Minions.
Yes.
And I agree with you on that, Seymour, and to his credit, I agree with him on that, because I think the Minions is really
They're really like overstepping the bounds with Minions, to be honest with you.
Well,
it's overkill.
It's overkill. It's too much, and it's kind of like this kind of I don't need like highbrow animation, but like the Minions are so just surface level kind of garbage. I got to be honest with you.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
And it's like the what is it? The Minions Land that they just released a concept art for Singapore.
Oh, yeah.
In the park, and it's everywhere, and it's like I don't get the appeal, but even if I did get the appeal, I said it before and I'll say it again: too much of something can not be a good thing.
Well, and it's like I hear all these complaints about Disney. Oh, Frozen again. It's like Frozen again. How many times are we going to revisit this Minion franchise, both in theaters and in the parks? Call them out. Nobody calls them out on anything. I do not understand it. You are not punching down. This is Comcast. It's a multinational megacorp. It's okay to criticize them. I don't understand why people are so hesitant to do it. But the Minions, and look, I get it. The kiddos love this franchise. I get it. But I think that Universal needs to diversify just a tad, when it comes to this stuff. But anyway, to Seymour's point, I think it's fantastic. The competition element of this whole equation. I hope Spellbound is a great movie because at least we'll get some other quality stuff in theaters that's animation. That's not Minions, So hopefully, fingers crossed. But I don't know though. I really don't. I don't know if this thing is going to have the buzz that he needs.
I don't think it's going to. I'm sorry. It's just like with Luck. We know about Luck because we follow the industry. We follow
outside of our little nerdy circle. Did the normie know about Luck? I mean, talk to your coworkers. How many people have actually seen it?
Here's the thing. A lot of people don't even know Skydance as an animation studio. Right. It's not really a big contender as far as like getting, as you mentioned, like the buzz around. You got Disney, you got Pixar, you got DreamWorks Animation, you got Illuminations. I mean, again, we know about Skydance, but does anybody else do?
No, exactly. So. No, but a lot of people do. Not a lot of people saw Luck. There wasn't a lot of buzz about it. And if Spellbound follows that same path where it people like it, but no one talks about it in a month, it's not good for Lasseter. It's not.
And also, too, there seems like to be a big gap as far as I know, anyways, between Luck and Spellbound. Like usually, like with Pixar, they had like a recurring, like a movie gets released maybe every year or every other year. But this seems like a big gap in between where it's like they don't complement each other to say, oh, wait, this movie came out last year. This movie's coming out this year. Okay, there's some buzz. There's talk going on. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. This is Lasseter's second go at this. We'll see what happens. I'm not so sure. And this is also at a time when Disney, at least on the Pixar side, which is Lasseter's side, of Disney when he was here. I mean, I know he ran Disney Animation too, but Pixar was more his baby. Pixar right now is flying high. I mean, Inside Out 2 hit like 1.5 billion, I think it was already.
It's hit it, yeah. It just it surpassed, I believe, domestically. It passed The Incredibles 2.
Yeah, so it's even more of a hill to climb for Lasseter because those comparisons. Okay, so Pixar, your former home base, right? It just has a movie. It just had a movie out that is clocking in at 1.5 billion. So now it's like that threshold is really high. What can Lasseter do with Spellbound that's going to make people go, wow, Disney really, really lost out on this guy. They should have kept him. What does Spellbound have to do right now with Inside Out 2 in theaters to make people go, wow, Disney fucked up? It's a tough hill to climb, dude. You know what I'm saying?
And here's the thing. The release date for Spellbound is November 22nd. 5 days after that, Moana 2 comes out in theaters.
Exactly. It's going to get 5 days of play until the Queen comes into town. Moana's going to crush it, dude.
And even with those 5 days, if it's not promoted properly and marketed well, those 5 days are going to be like crickets, tumbleweeds.
Yeah, exactly. So it's iffy, man. It's real iffy. It's very, very interesting. I'm very curious to see how this does. Lasseter, I mean, regardless of the personal life, regardless of what people think about him as a person, I understand what happened with him at Disney and everything. He's a creative guy. We can't deny that.
And he's very talented. He is. He has the chops for it.
He's got chops, dude. He knows how to make a story. He knows how to do animation. But we'll see. We'll see if, in this new home with the new people around him, and he did bring some Pixar people over, to be fair, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But can he rekindle that same magic? We'll see. I don't think, see, that's the thing though, with Katzenberg, I'll say it again. I don't think Katzenberg ever rekindled that same magic.
No, he didn't.
I don't think, his movies were, in my opinion, and people might disagree with me, a downgrade from what he did during the Renaissance era at Disney.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So
now, did Lee Unkrich move with Lasseter? Is he currently at Skydance?
I could have sworn he did. Don't quote me on that, but I think he did.
Okay.
I think he did. Okay, so next topic. This is courtesy of Finding Denny. Disney Scoops guy. Who you met Disney Scoops guy actually at Disneyland?
I did. Yes, very very cool cat. We got to hang for a little bit. We ended up racing against each other on Radiator Springs Racers. That was fun, and we got to chit chat for a little bit. He's really cool. He's gonna make it out to the OG55 meetup. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, he was tweeting this out. Now this is interesting. I want to kind of set the table here. I've been defending the Deadpool stuff in the parks, right? I have been. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were like, oh man, he's an R-rated character. You can't have him in Disney. I think as long as he's not doing the R-rated material at Disney, you're fine. You're right. As long as you're not doing like raunchy jokes, I think you're fine. I've made that argument. I've even used the example of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I get it. That movie isn't as raunchy as Deadpool, obviously, but in 1988, it was a very risque film. It was risque enough that Michael Eisner released it under the Touchstone Pictures banner. And yet, even doing that, he still put those characters in the Disney parks, right? So with that said, Deadpool is now making Grindr jokes at DCA. And Grindr is a hookup site, okay? Hookup app. Sex app or whatever you want to call it, right? So here's the joke, and then we'll talk about it, George. Here we go. George and I might have different opinions on this, actually. Mm-hmm. We might disagree on this.
Here's Deadpool. What do we have here? Wow, we got the Disney Parks app, we got Instagram, TikTok, Tinder, Grindr. Wow, Mr. Stark, I love your new profile picture.
Okay, and I didn't even realize. I guess they got Tinder on there too. Is Tinder... Okay, so Grindr is LGBTQ dating app or hookup app, right? And Tinder is that hetero?
Yeah, I think it can kind of go because as far as I know, I thought all those sites really give you that custom-made notion. Like, are you interested in guys? Are you interested in girls? Right. Are you interested in couples? Are you interested in both? It's right. Like I think it gives you that option. So I think it just depends on your preference.
Okay, so here's my thing. I don't really. For me, it doesn't matter whether it's heterosexual or LGBT or any. For me, it doesn't really matter. For me, I don't think he should be making these kind of jokes. To be honest, I think that when you start joking about sex, which a lot of these apps, I get it. Some of them are used for legitimate, like just people looking for relationships, and it's a dating thing, and a lot of it is used as like hookup, like one night stand kind of stuff. In my opinion, he's drifting into sex joke territory now. So for me personally, I think this was. I don't think they should cross this line. I've been fine with a story time with Deadpool and all that. I think that's been very fun, very silly. This, I think we're kind of getting into some riskier territory. And that's just me personally. But what do you think, George? I think you might disagree with me on this.
Yeah, slightly I do. I do understand your concern because it could go down a route where if you start doing this, you could end up starting to say something and could maybe cause some more controversy for Disney to have to handle with PR. But as far as this particular joke goes, I don't have an issue with the joke itself because it didn't really mention anything of it like a sexual innuendo in a sense of like body parts or something like it. He more so made the joke because of like Tony Stark. I love, this because Tony Stark was kind of noticed as in the films as like that playboy kind of techno genius, billionaire kind of notion.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a great point. Would a child know what Tinder or Grindr is? Probably not.
Right. So that's where I feel like now I think that's like you are like teetering on it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go anywhere further with that. They should really stop it at that and just like let it be. But I do understand your point of, I think what the whole notion is just using the term Grindr and Tinder, because when you use those words, it's what it's associated with. It's what it's affiliated with.
Right.
It's like if you use
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Yeah. If you use the term OnlyFans, if you use a political person's name, even though it's technically each person has their own opinion on it,
right,
but it's going to leave a door open for possible controversy.
Yeah. And I'm wondering too, with these jokes that Deadpool says, are they pre-approved?
That's what I was just going to ask you. Do they give them a list of like certain jokes that they could, or is this all spontaneous, like off the wall, kind of like out of your mouth, sort of like a stand-up comedian?
Well,
like you could have notes. Like you could have notes, but do they make it their own? See, that I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, because I know the Jungle Cruise skippers have to get their stuff approved, from what I understand.
Correct. Yes.
Right. I think our friend Danielle was talking about that. So, okay. So are these jokes, do they have to get them pre-approved, or are these jokes like he's really like just kind of spitballing here? And
I would think, knowing Disney, I still think that they would have to have something scripted, because I don't think they would not want to have that control, especially when you're having a performer portraying a character that is off the wall, that is raunchy, that does speak his mind. And it's quite interesting. I mean, I didn't really think they were going to go that route. As I said, me personally, I don't necessarily see the issue with it, just because I think it was very subtle. But as I said, I still understand your point on it, because it's just the fact that it was brought up in general. Then people start asking questions. Well, are they going to go a little notch further? And as I said, and I do agree with you in that sense that they are on that fine line. I don't think they necessarily crossed it, but they are on that balance beam, and they just have to just be careful with that.
Yeah, because look at what I've seen so far, aside from this and everything. I think Disney's handled it really well. I think they've managed to maintain Deadpool's personality. They don't completely water him down to nothing, which is great.
Right. Oh, Governor, finish your thought.
But so I feel like that they've, so far with story time with Deadpool and all that, they've really managed to like keep him as Deadpool, but yet they're removing the raunch element out of the equation. I think they've been really smart so far. This is the first thing I've seen that I'm like, ooh, that's a little bit, like you were saying, you're like at the line, and maybe even,
Yeah. But if Disney does want to dip their toe in the Deadpool, Disney, I know you're listening. I know you're watching. Don't get candid with us, because we know you do. I know that you might have listened of when we were joking around and we said about the story time with Deadpool and everything, and lo and behold. So I'm going to give you guys another suggestion with Deadpool. If you do want to go crossing this boundary, I have the perfect setting for you to have him in. Put him on the Disney cruise ships during the adult hour in the clubs.
Oh, that's perfect. See, that's perfect, dude.
Disney, do it, please.
That's perfect. That's perfect, man. Or if you had like a bar at one of the hotels, you know, and you have to obviously be like, I know sometimes Disney allows kids to go into these places, but have a bar that actually enforces the age, you know what I'm saying? And then you can have Deadpool standing on stage and totally roasting people.
And I know that they can do it because I've been into many of the clubs on the Disney Cruise Line ships, and some of the things can get a little risque. And we even had a person, when they were doing karaoke, he got up on stage and sang an Eminem, or he rapped, I should say, an Eminem song, uncut, like no beeps, no nothing. So if Disney can get away with that, they can get away with a Deadpool comedy hour in the nightclubs.
You know, that's interesting. When I was there with you, I've gone on 2 Disney cruises. I went on the Wish and the Wonder, right? Mm-hmm. You and I were on the Wish. We did the club thing.
Yes.
We were the only ones there, but we did it.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't remember seeing any kids. Well, I don't remember seeing anybody else besides us, basically. But they don't ask, like, so if a kid wanted to walk up, though, they could, right? Or do they
not like kids, like during the day, like if they're having like anything like sort of kid or family friendly, they usually don't have it in the bars per se, but if it's in like usually like the kid and family stuff is in the D lounges.
Okay.
Everything else, but they will specify you have to be 17 and up or 18 and up, 21 and up.
Oh, okay.
You know, there are certain things. So if they put a caution kind of like stamp on it to say, you know, even though this is involving a Marvel character, this is for adults only. And they usually do it at night where kids are either in bed or they're in the Oceaneers lab or the Oceaneers club, or, you know, maybe they're up at the upper deck, you know, maybe going swimming for a night swim or something.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing a whole lot of kids. We were there for like the karaoke thing, and that was all adults. As far as I can remember, it was all adults. And then after that, we hung out, like you, Mindy, and myself. We kind of hung around and waited for it to turn into a nightclub, which they, you know, it was said it was going to be a nightclub, and literally we were the only 3.
It turned into a retirement home.
Yeah, oh, totally, absolutely. And so, but I don't remember seeing a whole lot of kids or any really, from what I can remember at least. That was a year ago, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, they usually don't have no kids like younger than 18 in those areas. You know, when they're doing like trivia and stuff like that, then, you know, that's fine. But like stuff like that, it is strictly for adults. So I say, honestly, Disney, you can hit it out of the ballpark. If you listen to me with Storytime with Deadpool, listen to me now. Put Deadpool on the Disney cruise ships. Have an adult comedy hour with Deadpool in the bars or in the nightclubs night. It would kill.
Oh, it would kill. It would be so popular. That would be incredible, dude. Absolutely incredible. But this is the thing too. Disney's been doing this kind of adult stuff. Like you were saying, you've been on a lot of cruises. What, 9 or 10 of them, I believe?
9, yes. After September, it'll be 11.
Okay, like a lot, right? How long have they been doing this adult stuff on the cruises? Has it been since day one?
I believe, I don't know if it was like, I think like the adult raunchiness kind of like progressed as time went on, like of what it was considered risque, but they always had adult nightclubs on the ships. And then from the time that I started back in 2013, 2014, going on the Disney Cruise Line, it's been there since I've been on the ships.
Yeah. So this isn't like necessarily a new thing with Disney doing stuff for adults. And I actually support Disney doing adult stuff, but it has to be done responsibly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I do think, look, people that are like, everything has to be kid friendly, I don't agree with that. I think there's like you were saying, these adult shows on the cruise line, it's okay to have something for the adults. You know, Disney is an entertainment company. It's not Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. And I don't want them to get discouraged with that at all, because I kind of want them to go on the edgier kind of side if they decide to do a Villain's Land.
Yes.
I don't want like a watered down, diluted kind of, as I say, cookie cutter, Candy Crush kind of notion. But yes, I do understand your concern. I do understand your point value to it, because they do have to be careful, because if you are negligent a little bit of what is going on in the script of what you're giving these actors,
right,
then you have to be careful of the ignorance that it's putting upon, because that doesn't look good upon the actor, because that's not his fault. He's just doing his job and going on what's on the script. Second of all, it doesn't make the company look good. It doesn't make the parks look good. So you just have to be careful on that fine line. I think Disney dodged the bullet on this one, but they're teetering, and they really shouldn't surpass what they did.
Yeah, this is really, and like I said, I've been defending the Deadpool in the park thing. There's been a lot of people that are like, him existing in a Disney park is not okay for a lot of people, because but I don't agree with that.
Right. What they really should have done, I think, and I know they were going like more for like the applications like on a phone, but if they would have said maybe like Match.com or eHarmony or something like that. Oh, Mr. Stark, you look good in that snazzy suit. Is that a new haircut or something? Then that's more of like you're trying to find like your kind of your soulmate or your dating
significant other.
But yeah,
Grindr, Tinder, they're mostly seen as hookup apps.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it has a sexual connotation to it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But to your point, does a child know what Tinder is? Do they know what Grindr is? Probably not. So that joke will probably fly over the heads. But man, it's still putting it out there like that. This is the one.
I think it's also too, when you're actually having a character or a cast member in a Disney park, it's being echoed out into the fandom, and they're using the term Tinder and Grindr, and it's in a Disney park. That's where it's like, ooh, you gotta like,
and you're giving people like material to come for you when you're Disney, right? Because if you think about it, there's a lot of people out there that make a lot of accusations against Disney. You know what I'm saying? Like very, very serious allegations against Disney. When you do this kind of thing, you give those people ammunition to like, see, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like Disney needs to like be, this is where we talk a lot about it with like our friend Jay Shearer, the PR at Disney. As Disney, you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be cognizant of what you put out there, because there are people just waiting to jump on it. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. They were doing great. I thought with the Deadpool stuff, they were doing so good with it. The story time stuff was hilarious. He comes out in that unicorn, fucking perfect. This joke though, I don't know. Now it's going to be headline news all over YouTube and everywhere.
I still think they can recover from it. I don't think it caused enough damage, but that's what I mean by that. They have to be careful. They are teetering on that line, and they really should pull back a little bit. Not saying censor Deadpool all the way, but just get back into that. Do the Splash Mountain kind of jokes. Do the Robert Downey Jr. going into the Doctor Doom role, do that kind of stuff.
That's fun. That's great. That's the kind of stuff that I really fell in love with. This one, a little too close.
So I will say, I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it went over the boundary, but I do understand your point, and I could understand the argument that if a parent was to be upset at that, I understand why. They have a legit concern as to why that would bother them.
Yeah, and I have nothing against those apps in and of themselves at all. I don't, no problem with them at all. But like when it comes to like the way it's used in a Disney park, it's different. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, we'll see, dude. It's fascinating. We'll see what happens. We'll see if any other jokes emerge. And we'll talk about them. Deadpool has made a lot of waves. since he premiered at DCA. I mean, a lot of waves. A lot of good waves. I think a lot of people love him, but then there's been people that have been like,
well,
he's
you
been
usually
controversial.
you usually get some waves when you go into the wave Deadpool.
Yeah. When you wade into the Deadpool, you're gonna make some waves. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But Italiano, fantastic conversation, all about Spellbound, Deadpool in the parks. This Deadpool story though is fascinating because it really is kind of an evolving story. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't expecting this today. I didn't even know he was doing the Avengers.
I didn't know either
stuff.
until I saw the clips.
This is wild, absolutely wild. They got this guy everywhere. It's funny. But if you could let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. And before I do, I just have to say, speaking of Deadpool, I will be releasing at some point my full review on Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll try to squeeze it in there, especially because I got a big trip coming up with a lot of doings, a lot of content to be made. But I do promise, even if it is after the fact I get back from my trip, I will eventually get to my full review of Deadpool and Wolverine. And then also, too, speaking of my trip, I will be in Florida, Universal, and Walt Disney World, and also going out to California for Disneyland, Universal Hollywood, and the one and only D23 fan event, which I'll be going with this guy right here. We will be on grounds covering all the D23 news. So definitely, please, if you see us, don't hesitate. Don't be shy. Come by, say hello. And also the following week on Saturday, August 17th at 4:00 p.m. at Downtown Disney, we will be holding our very first OG 55 meetup. Definitely stop by, say hello, chit chat. It's going to be a good time. As they always say in Mickey's Mixed Magic, it's a good time.
Exactly. So definitely say hi, whether you see us, at D23. We'll be there all 3 days. Say hi to us. I know a lot of people are going to D23. D23 is kind of like nerd prom. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. It's the Disney Super Bowl.
Exactly. It's a Disney Super Bowl. Everyone's going to be there. You know what I'm saying? So if you see us on, at the expo, please say hi. We would love to see you. Also, like George said, August 17th at Downtown Disney, we're having OG55 official meetup. So if you can make it to that, awesome. Check it out.
But if you can't come and see us in person, you could find me on social media on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you can find me right here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There we go. Sticky. Thank y'all so much for watching this episode of OG 55. Comment down below. What do you think? Was Deadpool's Grinder and Tinder jokes a little too much for Disney Park? What say you? We'd love to hear from you in regards to that, whether you agree or disagree with us. And what do you think about Spellbound? Is this enough? Is this enough for John Lasseter? Do you think? Is this movie going to move the needle culturally? Because Luck didn't. So will this movie do it? We'll see. What are your comments? We'd love to hear from you. And until the next time, see you later.